And I am back now again with Moira Noonan, author of... Oh, Noonan, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Newman, especially since I got it right the first time. Author of Ransom from Darkness and Spiritual Deceptions, a comprehensive guide to discernment. She's an international speaker on spiritual warfare, the New Age movement, generational healing, and we talked about some of those things in our first segment. And here in the second segment, I want to talk about, as you started to make these changes, as your conversion began, and you mentioned how it was from the small spark that it led you to Mass, led you to Mary, and led you to Jesus through Mary. How did the people around you, who you had worked with you for years and decades, how did they react as these changes started to happen in you?
Well, a lot of things didn't work out really well. Like, for example, a lot of my friends were fallen away Catholic, and they thought I really kind of got off the deep end. They would say, well, sure, we know Mary's a goddess. And I'd say, no, she's not. She's real. Or New Agers would say, we know that she's this or that. Well, what about this and that? And they kept trying to enroll me back into the psychic world, the psychic phenomena, because some of the things that happened, for example, and not all of them did. Some of them would say, you know what, you were right as a psychic. Maybe you're right about this too. Like, for example, one of my friends, he had been involved in quite a lot of New Age things. He had a guru from India and all that. And he actually had a lot of problems. And he came to me when I was in hypnosis to ask me about, some things from his life, what could help him out, because he had melancholy and depression and all that. And so I said, well, I think you need to come to terms with your brother who died. Well, he was a twin at birth. He didn't know he had a brother. His twin brother died at birth, so he didn't even know he existed. So I said, wow, well, maybe you better call your mother. And I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So he called his mother, and he found out that he did have a twin brother who died at birth. And so when I was in the midst of my conversion, then he started saying, can I go to church with you? Then can I learn more about Mary from you? And it was kind of like that. So, and he said, well, you might be right about her because you were right about my brother. Maybe you're right about this Mary person. That kind of thing. So that was a big help.
Now, to a practicing Catholic who knows even the rudimentary Catholic faith, mm-hmm. The idea that, people referring to this Mary person, or that the idea that, Mary is this earth goddess, Mary is that, is so far from the beam to have a person who attends church regularly, that the concept that there's all these people who are thinking like this doesn't hit.
Walk into Barnes & Noble, any large bookstore, any of your major bookstores, and you will see under the section that says New Age, whole shelves of false apparitions and locutions on Mary under the New Age. As a matter of fact, the New Agers actually have Marian conferences, huge Marian conferences. They have people get up and they speak about how Mary talks to them. They channel Mary. It's a whole huge. It's all over the world, actually. So go to any Barnes & Noble and you'll see whole sections on messages from Mary. Mary talks to me, all this stuff, and it's all to do with New Age Mary.
All right, so you've gone in this path. You're now starting to go to church. When did you end up going to confession?
Oh, that's the greatest one. Okay, this is really fun. I knew that I wanted to know more about Mary, right? Okay, so, and at one point, she even actually had sort of touched us in a really deep way. We had met this woman on the street in San Diego. I was with another friend of mine who was a Church of Spiritualism. She was a psychic counselor in the Church of Spiritualism. So she's a full-blown occultist, fallen away Lutheran. And I told her, I really want to know more about Mary. And she said, being Lutheran passed, and now full-blown occultist, she knew nothing about Mary. And she said, well, I'll go with you. Well, it turns out that we met this woman who was a lay missionary of charity with Mother Teresa's order. And she was evangelizing us on the street one day. And we thought she's such a sweet, dear soul because she was sitting there with, she had a jean skirt with Birkenstocks on. So we thought, well, she's safe to talk to. Okay, we'll talk to her. And we told her we want to meet Mary. And she said, I was raised Protestant. And I met Mary late in life. And now I'm Catholic. We thought, wow, great. How did you meet her? Where did you meet her? She said, well, you could go to Arizona. You can go to my church. I said, your church? Where is that? So she writes down the name of her church, how she had a conversion, how she fell in love with Mary. And she says, you can go to my church. So we thought, oh, okay. So we left her, and we went down to the cliffs along the water. And like most New Agers, they carry a pendulum. Okay, a pendulum's a crystal at the bottom of a string, and they use it for contacting what they think are angels, and they call them spirit guides, but they're demons. They're fallen angels. Not safe thing to do whatsoever. So we were trying to do it and it wouldn't work. So the lady that was with me, she said, oh, you're good at this, why don't you do it? So I went to reach for this pendulum and I could not touch it. There was like an invisible wall between my hand and the pendulum, and at the same moment as I'm trying to reach for it, I heard a very, 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 very sweet interior voice say to me, pray the rosary for your prayers to be answered. So the fallen away Lutheran full-blown occultist looked at me and she said, what's going on here? What's going on? I said, I can't touch that thing. I'm never allowed to touch a pendulum. I'm never allowed to use it. I am completely convicted right here on the spot. Take it away from me. She said, why? I said, well, I'm hearing this really sweet interior voice, very, very sweet voice say to me, pray the rosary for your prayers to be answered. She believed me on the spot. She said, great, where do we get a rosary?
Now, the person
this
you're
happened
with,
right on the spot.
This person that you're with is not, again, was she not a following away Catholic? She just thought that, and she didn't know what a rosary is a rosary. She just thought, oh, this must be a different New Age thing in her head.
No, what she knew was from Mary. We both figured it was from Mary, but we didn't know. I just had the sweet voice. I literally wasn't sure. I mean, as a following Catholic, I knew something about the rosary being attached to Mary. That's all I knew, but I didn't know anything about it. I never prayed it in my life. I didn't know how to pray it. And so she calls me the next day and she said, I bought 2 rosaries. They look like crystals. It's okay. Like crystal rosaries.
And again, it looks like, and the interesting thing about it looks like crystals. They're okay, as if we want to make sure that we are not going to the faith. Right. And I hear that over and over. It's this, so it's okay. It's that, okay. As if it was trying to, as if you was trying to stay away from the faith at the time. So
she says, what do we do now? And I said, well, you know what? The only person that's really talked to us about Mary with anything, giving us any real information is that lady on the street. Let's do what she told us to do. She gave us this little book out of her purse, and it was all beaten up, and it was looked like the dog had gotten it. It's only because she prayed it for the last 20 years. It's called the Pieta book, a little blue book.
You mean that little beat-up book that I have next to my computer?
Oh my gosh, is this it? Thank you.
The Pieta prayer, which I happen to have on me.
This actually looks like good condition compared to the one she had.
I have one that's in much worse condition. I bought 3 of them.
Okay. So hers looked like, like the dog had gotten it. It was really in bad shape. But she pulled it out of her purse on the street. The street in San Diego, California. And she said, this is the prayers you need to pray to meet Mary. We took her literally. What do we know? So and I thought, what a special thing. She'd given us her very special gift out of her purse. This means so much to her. She looks like she's been using it forever. And I thought, this is a treasure to her. And I thought, this is so personal. She is giving us her treasure, her personal treasure. So that lady, the next day, the New Age counselor, psychic counselor, she calls me and she says, I've got 2 rosaries. They look like crystals. What do we do now? I said, just come on over. I'll find that little blue book we got, and we'll look and see what it tells us to do. So here we are, 2 occultists from the Church of Spiritualism, trying to, with our 2 crystal-looking rosaries that she bought, and we're like this in this little book. What do we do? We're teaching each other how to pray at my house with this little book.
That's the beginning. That's amazing. So So you're now starting to pray the rosary. Now you don't understand the rosary at this point, really, but you're starting to pray it because you have it out of the Pietà book. But again, I want to get to that question again. So you're now praying the rosary. What started happening with you? When did you start to understand what you were doing?
Oh, okay. So you asked me about the confession. Okay, so here's the next thing. Okay, so what happened next is really amazing. So we were trying to teach you I was trying to figure out how to where in the book, the Pietà book, was the rosary, and we started praying, and then she said, we really need help, don't we? I said, yeah, we don't know what we're doing, but I think we could get help. Literally, Catholics are so shy. I want to tell them, please don't be shy. Please evangelize, because this lady was not shy. She got 2 live ones on the street because she was not shy. She gives us her dog-eared book because she was not shy. Please don't be shy. She made a world of difference in our lives. And it's only like Billy Graham style on the street, because she was raised Protestant. So she didn't have any qualms about talking about her faith on the street in a city to 2 live people sitting there. And so she told us, go to my church. So we looked at each other and we said, we better do what that little lady told us to do. Honestly. We didn't really we just met her. We met her for like a few minutes on the street. So she told us to go to this church. We said, we're going to go to her church. That's where she told us to go. So now New Agers don't do anything alone. They're like a tribal group. They go in tribal manner no matter where they go. They're always in a group. So she said, well, how are we going to go to this church in Arizona that the lady told us to go to? I said, I don't know. We got to put a whole van load together. But tell them we're going to go see UFOs. So we put 8 people in my van, and we told them we're going to go see the UFOs. Like in high desert, It'll be a trip, a pilgrimage to the UFOs, right? Now, there was only one other person in this group that was fallen away Catholic. He was from South America. He was fallen away from Bolivia. And everybody else was fallen away except for one person. They were all baptized Christians, legal baptism. Mm-hmm. Methodist, Lutheran, Episcopalian, and only one guy he was not baptized whatsoever. And then two fallen away baptized Catholics. I'm saying this because baptism is critical. The graces with baptism are critical. And it's so important. It's a tremendous grace.
Those graces made a difference to you to get you back.
Everyone I've evangelized over the last 15 years, if they've been baptized, it's so much easier. And it's so much, it's just better. As a matter of fact, even exorcists will tell you that. The baptism is critical. It's people can't emphasize it enough. I think it's in the Bible. How many times is it in the Bible? Many, many times, baptism. Very important. So
you're in this van. You're all going to see the UFOs.
Right. Till we convinced everybody we're going to go see UFOs. And so on the way, I wasn't driving. Somebody else was driving. And on the way, we told them as we're getting towards Phoenix. I'd never been there before, so I didn't know really the routing. But I looked on a map in advance, and I said, we need to take an exit. They didn't know what we were going to, where we were going. I said, we need that exit over there. What? That's nowhere near the mountains. It's still in Phoenix, right? And I said, no, we have to stop here just for like an hour or something, because, I really need to talk to Mother Mary. What? What are you talking about? We're going to UFOs. And so the fallen away Lutheran that was with me knows what we're doing. She said, no, we both need to go. So then they said, okay, 2 of you out of 8 will go. So they took the exit. They went down to the church, and they pull up and they said, this is a Catholic church. And they were starting to get mad, And I said, no, it doesn't matter. Mary's here. And they went, what? Mary's here? Yeah, Mary's here. So everybody parks the van. They all get out. Arizona's like 100 degrees. I've
only been there once, but yeah, it's warm.
It's really warm. So they're, and this is, by now it's evening. And there was a night mass, so there was evening mass going on. So we all walk in, all 8 of us, and 6 of them walked out a few minutes later. And so the fallen away Lutheran and myself, we stayed. Okay, so then she walked out a half an hour later, and I said, I'm not walking out, I'm staying, because this is where I'm going to meet Mary. That little lady on the street told me I could meet Mary here. I'm meeting her here. I was like convinced I'm going to meet her here. I took her literally. It was so beautiful. Well, during the Mass, I was really completely convicted. But just the homily, the
When you say
priest,
convicted, you mean...
I was convicted of my sins. Like that I was living a sinful life. That going towards UFOs and being a New Ager was really wrong. I was very, very, very convicted. And I thought to myself, wow, I am really in bad shape. And I thought, I really felt like I wanted to just die. Like I want to crawl in a hole and die. And quite honestly, Jesus spoke to me in a way that was very deep in my soul. And sure enough, thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, our Holy Spirit, the spouse of Our Lady. Because I thought, it's kind of like an experience where there's so much is revealed, you don't know what to do with yourself. You just want to really do something. You know, I guess in the old days they used to flagellate themselves or something. Well, for me, I just wanted to crawl in a hole and die. I just realized I was such a sinner. And then, thank you, Holy Spirit, because I was reminded, go to confession. Confession. Oh, my gosh. You know, I didn't even know it was called the Sacrament of Reconciliation. I knew nothing. I just realized, confession, don't I need a priest for that? I mean, it's been like almost 30 years. Confession, I need a priest. How am I going to find a priest? Well, priest is doing Mass. Okay, wait till after Mass. So I was running around looking for the priest after Mass, you know, and somebody says he's in the sacristy. What's a sacristy? I don't know what a sacristy is. Well, he's over there. You know, finally somebody said, well, he's in the parking lot. He's outside, you know.
You know where the parking lot is.
So I go outside, right. And I said, oh, Father, he was standing there. I said, Father, I need confession, He said, okay. I said, okay, where? He said, right here. Right here where? Right here in the parking lot. I said, you mean you're going to look at me? And then he realized that I wasn't a quickie, that I wasn't like a regular that goes to these masses at his parish, that, you know, or like goes to the evening Mass or something. And he said, right here. And I said, okay, he said, how long has it been? Oh, let me think, you know, like, and I said, well, I was 15 last time, you know, before my confirmation, so like 28 years. And he says, you can see his jaw drop, because it's now 10 o'clock at night, he's exhausted, he's just, you know, they had this big healing Mass, he's praying over all these people, and he was very kind, you know, very kind to me. Priests are usually extremely kind. Our Lady's sons are so special. And sure enough, he tells me what to do, how to do it, you know. Here's how you say how to start your confession. I mean, I had no clue. I couldn't remember any of it. Last time I did confession was, you know, my little hometown parish. You kneel down on the wooden kneeler. You have a curtain. They don't see you. You can't see them. So I was kind of shocked that you did a face-to-face confession, you know. I didn't know anything about it.
Well, even know that you could do a face-to-face confession.
I didn't know, especially in a parking lot. And this is the night, you know, this is by now it's like the mid-90s.
Just to let you know, just as an FYI, my last confession was yesterday in the corner of the ballroom of the event where I was that I was covering. But go ahead.
Fantastic. So the good news is his confession is, isn't it great to be Catholic, to have confession, to be able to clear your conscience from these things that we've done and the sins that we've committed? I mean, it's such a tremendous grace. At any rate, so he had me start, took after 25 minutes, he says, that's enough. You need really what's called a life confession. You need an appointment with me. So here's my card. There's my office over there. I want you to call me tomorrow and make an appointment. So which I did. And, you know, it was really, he's the one that said to me, I want you to start, you know, where are you from? I told him California. He says, I want you to go back, find a parish, and join what's called RCIA. I said, I've heard about that. I thought it was kind of like the PTA or something. I didn't know it had anything to do with church, you know, because my neighbor had said something about I joined RCIA. I said, RCIA, what's that, you know? I didn't even ask her what it was. I thought it was, at her school, it was called RCIA instead of PTA. That's how much Catholics talk to you. I'm in RCIA. They don't explain it to you what it is or anything. Hello? So, you know, so at any rate, so sure enough, and he said, I want you to go to the monastery, the Benedictine monastery. You need a spiritual director. You need somebody to help you walk through.
So he practically gave you a blueprint as to what he wanted you to do to get you to where you needed to be.
Right. And then I said to him, well, this would, still that evening in the parking lot, it was like going on 10:30 now. I said, I came with 7 other people. We came in a van, and mainly, they're still New Agers. Everybody's from the New Age, and they want to go see UFOs in high desert. Sedona, Arizona, New Age capital of the world. Even CNN calls it New Age capital of the world. And he looked at me really funny, and I said, don't worry, Father, I'm convicted. I have no interest in UFOs whatsoever. But I came with them. We're all in the same vehicle, and they got to be around here somewhere because the van's right over there, so they must still be on property here somewhere. He said, well, the only thing left open is our 24-hour adoration chapel. It's 24/7, and it's right over there. And I said, oh, fantastic. I don't even know what it means. Great. He said, they're over there, and it was all lit up, and it was very pretty. You walked inside, it looked like a botanical garden. They had beautiful statues and a waterfall, and it was just really lovely. And he said, that's where you'll find them probably. So I get in there. They're all in there, and they're playing guitar, singing. Because they don't know you're supposed to be quiet. We don't know anything. It's exposed monstrance. We didn't know what that was.
And you didn't know either.
I didn't know what it was. Nobody knew anything. So we were all sitting there in this adoration chapel, and I said to them, well, I am not interested in UFOs. I'm convicted not to be of interest in them anymore. They looked at me funny. And I said, if you want to leave, I'll just stay in the van while you go wander around the desert in the middle of the night. And they said, no, we don't want them either. I said, what? They said, no. Every one of them said, we don't want to go to the UFOs. They were all convicted in the adoration chapel.
Well, that's what the presence of Christ will do that to a person.
Except for the one that was not baptized. He was in the chapel like this. He couldn't even handle looking at the monstrance. He couldn't handle any of it.
And they didn't know what the monstrous was.
Nobody knew.
So nobody knew what.
Nobody.
And this is what I find fascinating. You had 6 lapsed baptized Protestants. Most of them would not know a monstrous from a monster movie.
One other fallen
Catholic. And you have the non-baptized person. The non-baptized person did not want to look at it.
Couldn't even look at it.
And didn't know what it was.
But the baptized people could.
But didn't want to look at it. And was there any reaction to that to them? It's like, how come you don't want to...
No, we just thought he was having a bad day or something. We left him alone.
All right.
I mean, literally, he was like this with his head covered. He could not even look at it. And he was from 2 or 3 generations New Age occultism. And...
so all of you stay in the Adoration Chapel for a while, Isle at that point.
Oh, no. Then, I told them we could go, and they said, no, we don't want to leave. Here's what they said. They said, why should we leave? This is the best vortex here. We don't need to go up to Sedona looking for vortexes. We got it right here. They believed the Holy Catholic Church Adoration Chapel was the best vortex they'd ever been in. They did not want to leave. We were there till like 4 in the morning. They didn't want to go. Some people go for an hour. They were there for 4 hours. These people, no one wanted to leave. And then they went from playing music like New Age style music, because the guy who was the other fallen away Catholic, somehow Our Lady graced him with the gift of the Holy Spirit to play songs to her. He started playing songs to Mother Mary that he was making up as he goes along, and everybody else, because New Agers follow each other, they're singing in the songs he's singing.
Including the non-baptized one, or is he still
he was doing nothing. He was just couldn't handle anything. So here he's strumming along with the one from South America. He's strumming along singing Mama Mary songs. I love you, Blessed Mother. Or I love you, Mother Mary. That's all he knew. Mama Mary, Mother Mary. And then out of the clear blue, he starts talking about Saint Michael, Archangel Michael. He says, and he starts making up a song for Archangel Michael. This goes on, and these people at the parish, they're coming in every hour for their hourly night, because it's a 24/7.
Yeah.
No, they walk in the Adoration Chapel at midnight. They don't know what hit them, all these strange people in there. And their New Agers look like New Agers. And they're and they know Sedona, because anybody in Arizona knows Sedona. And they're thinking,
but they're hearing them pray to Mary, then they're hearing them pray St. Michael. And...
yeah, they're wondering, well, not praying, but singing the best we could. But they're wondering what hit their Adoration Chapel, right? Like, where did these people come from? What planet did they come from? But they knew they knew that there was a Sedona mix or something, New Age mix. And so they were the kindest people in the world. Not one of them said, hey, be quiet, it's an Adoration Chapel. Not one of them said, where are you from? Who are you? What are you doing here? Be quiet, get out of here. They were so nice. No one said anything to tell us to be quiet or kick us out, which was a very good thing. because by the time we left, we finally get up to Sedona at like, I don't know, 4 in the morning, or I guess it was about 3 or something. Get up there about a little bit after 4 in the morning, and the next morning, the New Agers that we were staying with, and they were all top musicians in the New Age movement. So their music was in Sam Goody's warehouse. They were like the top musicians of New Age. And they were saying, what happened to you guys? You all look so different. And we said, so I didn't even say this. The other one said, we found the best vortex in Arizona, and it's not here in Sedona. I said, what? What are you talking about? Well, it's down near Phoenix. You want to go? They all got a van load the next night, so we had 2 van loads going down the next night. This went on and on for the next 6 months. People kept wanting to go. I was going back to California, bringing more van loads back to the church, back to the Adoration Chapel.
So this Adoration Chapel is all of these New Age people now going to the Adoration Chapel, and
yeah.
And to make this could go on as long as all these trips to the Adoration Chapel. In the end, you ended up in confession. You ended up in RCIA. How many of the others did?
Let's see. Most of them are in my book, Ransom from Darkness. One of the first fruits that happened is the fallen away Catholic. The very next day, he got a ride back to California. He went to get his wife, who was living with her boyfriend. They had broken up or separated. He knocked on the door and he said, I'm taking my wife back. And he went and got his marriage blessed in the church. And he said, he didn't even go through RCA, he just says, I'm back. Next one, who was the other one, fallen away Methodist, who had the twin brother. He insisted on going to church with us. And he even insisted on getting Holy Communion, even though I was in RCA, he wasn't in RCA yet. And then finally, I didn't understand the rigmaroles about communion and all, we were so new. Finally, I think some sweet soul explained to him, you can't get communion until you sign up for RCA. Then he signed up for RCA right away. I mean, it wasn't immediate. It was like
so it was a path.
It was a path. Everyone, some of them went back to. Some of them did not actually come into the. 2 of them came into the Catholic Church, and actually 4 of them came into the Catholic Church, and some of them went back to Protestant Church where they were from as children.
Now, what happened with?
We didn't argue with that because we didn't know anything. You know,
what happened
you're welcome to come either way.
What happened to the non-baptized one? Anything happened?
Yeah, it's a very sad story. Mm-hmm. He could not handle anything. He committed suicide within a short amount of time.
That's a sad thing.
It is. And we think it's because, and we didn't understand it. We didn't understand any of it. But almost all of us that came out of New Age, actually all of us that came out of New Age have had some form of deliverance. You cannot go from New Age, really, walking right back into the church, either Protestant or Catholic, without a deliverance. That's serious. Deliverance ministry is very important, and we're going to talk a lot about that at the intergenerational retreat, because deliverance ministry is critical. Being delivered is critical for this, for being cleaned up. Occult renunciation. I hand out something to people.
And we're going to talk about this subject in our next segment. This is Moira Noonan, the author of Ransom from Darkness and Spiritual Deceptions, a comprehensive guide to discernment, and we're going to be right back.